De Brabandere Kwaremont.
And remember, life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. Another one from Belgium today, and this is the De Brabandere. Fucking, I'll try saying that when you're pissed. De Brabandere Brewery, Kwaremont. And this is a bit of a special one because it's brewed for cyclists, would you believe? Now, I don't know what your opinion of cyclists are. I am going to keep them to myself. Needless to say, I am a biker, and yeah, let's just leave it at that because you know I'm going to fucking go into a rant. But I would very much appreciate, cyclists, if you would just get out of the fucking way sometimes and relax. This is a blonde, 6.6% blonde from, as I say, the De Brabandere Brewery in Belgium. And it's brewed specially for cyclists, and cycling is massive in Belgium. And the reason is, and it's the same in Holland as well, or the Netherlands. If you've ever been there, well, most people who've been to the Netherlands will know, certainly if you've been to Amsterdam, they love getting on a bike. I don't know whether it's true, but some people say it's because the place is so flat. Now, some people actually get off and riding up hills and stuff like that, and I'll get onto that in a second because it ties in nicely with that. But generally, because the Netherlands are reclaimed land, if you like, polders. Did you ever do about them at school? We done that in, was it geology or something we did? We did some fucking, I can't remember, I was useless at school. But we did about them, and I remember them being, it was reclaimed land that they got from the sea, and some parts of it are below sea level, which is a little bit worrying in this age of flooding, but it's very flat. And the rumours are, I can't confirm or deny, but the rumours are that that's why it's popular, because the land is so flat. However, that is a bit of a myth, certainly when it comes to the Ardennes region in Belgium. And there is, you know, that region lies between the Flemish-speaking Flanders and the Wallon part, the French-speaking part of Belgium. And this is right near the border, this old Kwaremont, and it's not a mountain, but it's a hill. But apparently, if you're on a bike, it is very grueling indeed. And some of the roads that lead up to, or some of the way, where the route is, some of it that leads up is very grueling indeed. And there's part of it that is known as the calf biter. And if you've ever ridden a bike, and I have, believe it or not, years ago when I was working, I lived in Walthamstow, and I used to cycle to work every day, and by the time I got home my legs felt like they was on fire, and I was training at the time as well. I used to do Thai boxing, and I was quite fit, but cycling does take it out on you, believe me. Anyway, enough about cycling. This is a beer that has been brewed, as I say, for cyclists, but it's a blonde. And it's 6.6%, and that is the classic blonde that I know. I've seen blondes that have been labelled at 11%, between 7 and 11%, and I do question whether they're triples or not, but they're labelled as blondes. I'm not really sure how that works out, but for me, at 6.6%, that is what I would expect from a blonde. And it's one of them beers that I've seen about, but I've just never tried it before, and I don't know why, because that De Brabandere Brewery are quite good. They've been going since the 1800s. Well, 1894, so at the arse end of the 1800s. And it's been kept in the same family ever since, which I think is really good. Proper tradition there, you know, over 100 years of tradition there. So that's pretty darn good. But what I like about this, I mean, this is 6.6%, but they've chosen 6.6% because it's the gradient of one of the hills on this route that this Kwaremont is on, and that's why they've chosen that. And yeah, quite a nice touch, I thought. Well done for that. Anyway, let's stop talking about cyclists before I start going into a rant. Let's investigate the beer. Right, 330ml bottle, 6.6% as I've just said, and it's a blonde, and what I would consider a blonde. Sadly, there's no brew sheet. I can't tell you what's inside it, but it is top fermented, and it is, I would imagine, in keeping with all the stylistic requirements of a Belgian blonde. Let's get it open and let's see what's going on. Right, is this going to fizz up? If it is, it's going straight into the glass. Now, speaking of the glass, they have a special glass that this goes into. It's sort of like a chalice, but it's not, if you know what I mean. There's the cap, orange and black, Kefaramont written on the top. The glass has on this bottom part of the glass, I don't know what that's called, the base part of it, it's got cobblestones inlaid on it, and of course, you know, Belgium is renowned for its cobblestones and old style roadways that they sometimes have to go across when they're doing these bike rides and all that. But as far as I'm concerned, Tour de France and all that, you know, I'm really not interested in it at all. But I'm not taking, if people like that, you know, I had a mate, sadly passed away now, but he was a cyclist and he absolutely loved the Tour de France, and you couldn't get him out when it was on. So there you go. What do I know? Let's get it in the glass. Amber. That's a bit dark for a blonde. They have got it listed as a blonde on the front. That looks more like a Czech Pilsner to me, with that amber. Oh, smells nice. Very Belgian. Fruity. Clove. Banana. Not as sweet as I thought it was going to be. Interesting. There's quite a lot of malt on that, and normally you don't get that on the Belgian blondes. It's more about the banana and the clove. It's the yeast that comes through, but this has got quite a bit of malt going on in it. Caramel malt. There's a little bit of banana and clove, but it ain't big. Now, this, as I say, this is a beer that has been brewed especially for cyclists when they finish a race. Now, would you really want, after a grueling bike ride, 6.6% beer when you are in this, they call it an oxygen debt, when you train quite rigorously, certainly cardio, you get into what's called an oxygen debt because your body is craving oxygen because it's just expended a lot. If you drink alcohol, you get drunk very, very quickly indeed. It's just the nature of it. I don't know why. There's certain biological reasons for it, but I've noticed it myself. I've done it on the odd occasion and it ain't nice. But if you're a Belgian cyclist, crack on. Bottoms up. Quite nice. Quite sweet, I will say that. But it's the usual flavours that you get from a Belgian blonde. Some banana and clove. Little touch of ethanol on there. 6.5%, 6.6%. You sort of would expect that. It's not bad though. Carbonation's quite big. Not sure whether you can see that in the glass. It's going for it. It's quite nice. There's a little astringency that's coming from there, and it tastes like tannin. Sometimes in certain beers you get tannin that's been added to it, and I think that's what I'm getting here. And don't know whether that's because the malts have been roasted. Sometimes brewers add tannin to beers that have roasted malts. And to be honest, I'm not a big fan of it. If you put too much tannin in it, it tastes really not good. And you do get it in a lot of supermarket beers, especially the ones that have been brewed by Marston's. And I have no idea why they do it, because it tastes like shit. But this, I can detect it in there, but it's not too bad. It's not overpowering. But there is a slight astringency to it, which balances itself out with the candy sugar that's been put into this. Carbonation is a little bit obtrusive, I will say that. You can get that on the palate, but it's quite nice. It's a mixture of that sugar sweetness, quite reasonably full-bodied, sugar sweetness on that from the candy sugar, a little bit of hop bitterness that comes from the hops that have been put into this, and I would imagine also the tannin. There's a little slight tannin flavour in there, but there's also some malt in there, and it's attempting to be caramel malt from what I can gather, but in general not too bad. So what's the verdict on Kwaremont beer? Yeah, it's okay. It's not too bad. It's one of them beers that does what I would expect from a Belgian blonde, and as I say, the ABV is correct. The colour, I wouldn't class that as a blonde. That looks quite dark, in my opinion. Certainly for a blonde, you don't normally get them that colour. They're much more golden in appearance, and this looks like it's been filtered as well. There's not much of a haze going on there either. But having said that, it's okay. It does taste a little bit sort of mass produced. It probably isn't. The Brabandere are really that sort of brewery, but it does taste a little bit mass produced. I'm being reminded of the Leffe Blonde a little bit. Not a lot, but I'll take this over Leffe any day of the week. And someone reminded me I hadn't done a review of Leffe. I thought I had, so I'm going to be reviewing that soon. Prepare for a rant. But yeah, this isn't too bad. I'm going to give it 7.5. I think that's about what it's worth. There are much better blondes out there, but this certainly isn't the worst. And yeah, it's not bad. I think 7.5 is a fair mark. And if you like your Belgian blondes, I think that was £2.70 odd a bottle. I will say there are better Belgian blondes out there, but it's not the worst in the world. I certainly wouldn't turn it down, and I would certainly drink that over Leffe. And remember, beer is working class champagne.